Today we're concluding the Rambam's topical outline of all the 613 mitzvahs. 2 days ago we learned the outline of books 1 to 4. Yesterday was books 5 to 9. Today we're going to learn books 10 to 14, all the mitzvahs that the Rambam plans to include in these books. Sefer Tahara, the book of purity. Hilchotav Shmone is 8 sets of laws in this book. V'zehu Siduran in the following order. Hilchot Tumat Met, the laws of Tuma that's imposed by a dead body. Ritual impurity of a dead corpse. Hilchot Para Aduma, the law of the red cow. Hilchot Tumat Sarat, the laws of impurity of lesions on the skin, on the home, on the clothes. Hilchot Metamei Mishkavu Moshav, the laws of those people who communicate Tuma through things that they sit on or things that they lie on. There are a couple of special people that get ritually impure to the level that whatever they sit on or lie on becomes impure. Hilchot Sha'ar Avot HaTumot, the laws of the other fathers of Tuma. Father of Tuma means the highest degree of ritual impurity. Hilchot Tumat Ochalin, the laws of Tuma, of food. Hilchot Kelin, the laws of vessels. Hilchot Mikvot, the laws of mikvah. Hilchot Tumat Met, the laws of ritual impurity imposed by a corpse. Mitzvat Aseh Achat, it covers one positive mitzvah. V'hu Din Tumat Met, which is the law described by the Torah as Tumat Met, ritual impurity of a corpse. There's 25 chapters in this set of laws. It only covers one mitzvah, how a dead body can give over impurity to other things. Hilchot Para Aduma, the law of the red cow. Yesh Bichlalan Shtei Mitzvot Aseh, it covers 2 positive mitzvahs, V'zehu Pratan, and these are their details. Aleph, Din Para Aduma, the law of the red cow, how to prepare it. It has to be burnt together with a certain materials of wood and string, etc. Bet, Din Tumat Meinida V'taharatan, the law of the impurity and the purity of the waters of sprinkling. Once you burnt the red cow, you take the ash and you'd mix it with water, and that mixture became the thing that you would use to make somebody pure from Tumat Met, from impurity caused by a corpse. However, the thing was that the Kohen that would sprinkle the water on the person would become pure, but the Kohen himself would become impure. That's Tumat Meinida V'taharatan. Hilchot Tumat Sarat, the laws of Tuma imposed about Sarat, lesions. Yesh Bichlalan Shmona Mitzvot, it talks about 8 mitzvahs here. Shesh Mitzvot Aseh, Ushtei Mitzvot Lo Taseh, 6 positive and 2 negative. V'zeu Pratan. Aleph, Lahorot B'tzarat Adam Kidina Katuv B'Torah. We should teach the rules, we should rule about human sarat according to the law in the Torah. Bet Shalei Akot Simanei Tumah, not to cut signs of Tumah. If you have lesions on your skin, you cannot scrape it off. Gimel Shalei Galach HaNetek. If you have tzarat on your head, which is called a netek, you cannot shave it. Daled Sheiyah Mitzorah Mefursam. Any person that contracts tzarat has to become publicized b'kriat begadav, by tearing his clothes, upriat rosho, and letting his hair grow long, v'atiyal safam, and wrapping himself up. His face should be covered up to his mustache. Hey, taharat tzarat, the way to become pure from tzarat. There's a whole procedure for that. Vav sheigalacha mitzorat kol sarlo kesheyitar. A person who has tzarat must shave all his hair when he becomes pure. Zayin din tzarat ha-beged, the laws governing tzarat of clothes, and chet din tzarat ha-bayit, the laws governing tzarat of homes. Hilchot metamei mishkavu moshav, the laws of those who give over tuma to the things that they lie on and the things that they sit on. Yesh bichlalan arba mitzvot aseh, it covers 4 positive mitzvahs, v'zeo pratan, and these are their details. Din tumat nida, the law of the tumah of a menstruating woman. Din tumat yoledet, the law of the tumah of a birthing woman. Gimel din tumat zava, the law of the impurity of a zava, that's the woman who has irregular blood flow. And dalid din tumat zav, the law of the tumah of a zav, that's a man who has irregular emission from his body. Hilchot sha'ar avot hatumot, the laws of the other fathers of tumah. Yesh bichlalan shalosh mitzvot aseh, it covers 3 positive mitzvahs, v'zeo pratan, and these are their details. Aleph, din tumat nevilah, the law of the tumah impurity of a carcass, dead animal. Bet, din tumat sheretz, the law of the tumah transmitted by a rodent. There are 8 special rodents in the Torah listed that they give off a tumah, an impurity. Gimel, din tumat shichvat zera, the law of the tumah transmitted by semen. V'avodah zara, says the Rambam, idols mitam'at kesheretz, transmit impurity like a rodent, the tumatam divrei sofrim, and its impurity is rabbinic. Nevertheless, it's discussed in these laws. Hilchot tumat ochalin, the laws of tumah transmitted by food. Mitzvat aseh achat, that's 1 positive mitzvah. V'hi, which is din tumat mashkin v'ochalin, the ways, the laws governing the impurity of drinks and food. V'hechsheran, and the way that they become susceptible to tumah. Not just any food or drink can become tameh. It has to go through a process whereby it comes into contact with water and also gets detached from the ground, and that makes it muchshar, fitting lekabel tumah, to receive tumah. So there's a special way of hechsher, of how to make food and drink susceptible to tumah. Hilchot kelim, the laws of vessels. And here we have an interesting thing. Until now, every set of laws covered certain mitzvahs. Here the Rambam says these laws don't cover any mitzvahs in specific. Rather, inyan elu halachot, the topic of these laws is laid out to know, kelim, which vessels shemekablin tum'ah mikol elu hatumot, which vessels can contract, can receive tumah from all the above mentioned impurities, v'kelim she'enam mitamim, and which vessels cannot become tamei cannot become impure. V'chetzad mitam'in akelim u'mitamim, and how they become impure and how they transmit tumah to others. Hilchot mikvot, the laws of mikvahs, mitzvah tatei achat. It's one positive mitzvah. V'hi, which is sheyitbol kol tamei b'mei mikveh. Every impure person must dip in a mikveh. V'achar kach yitar, and only then become pure. You don't have to go into a mikveh, but if you want to become pure, you have to use a mikveh. Nimtzu, it turns out, kol ha-mitzvot ha-nichlалот b'sefer zeh, all the mitzvahs included in this book, esrim, are 20, mehen shmone esrei mitzvot aseh, 18 positive mitzvahs, ushtei mitzvot lot aseh, and only 2 negative mitzvahs. It's a huge book. It's the biggest book of the Rambam, 144 chapters, and yet it covers a very small amount of mitzvahs, because here again, we see the Rambam's principle, where he covers issues by topic. It's not each chapter per mitzvah, it's however many chapters a certain mitzvah needs, that's how much we'll give it. Sefer Nizikin, the 11th book of the Rambam, the book of damages. Hilchotav Chamech has 5 sets of laws. V'zehu Siduran in the following order. Hilchot Nizkei Mamon, the laws of damages done by your property. If your animal hurts somebody, if your fire hurts somebody. Hilchot Gneva, the laws of stealing. Hilchot Gzela v'Aveda, the laws of robbing and lost objects. Hilchot Chovel Umazik, the law of a human being who bruises somebody else or damages someone else's property. Hilchot Rotzeach u'Shmirat Nefesh, the laws of a murderer and how to guard your soul. Hilchot Nizkei Mamon, the laws of damages done by property. Yesh bichlalan arba mitzvot aseh, has 4 positive mitzvahs. V'zehu pratan, these are their details. Aleph, din hashor, the law of an ox, but it means an animal that damages. Bet, din hahaver, the laws of an animal that eats from another person's food, another person's field. Gimel, din habor, the law of a pit. You dig a pit in a public place and therefore someone gets damaged because of it. Daled, din hahavara, the law of fire. If your fire damages, you also have to pay. Hilchot gneva, the laws of a thief, or other ways of secret stealing. Yesh bichlalan sheva mitzvot. This covers 7 mitzvahs. Shtei mitzvot aseh, v'chamesh mitzvot lot aseh, 2 positive and 5 negative. V'zehu pratan, and these are the details. Aleph, shelo liglov mamon, not to steal money in stealth, to go in someone's house and just take their stuff. Bet din haganav, the law of the ganav. Sometimes he has to pay double. There's even cases where he can be killed. Gimel, litzadek hamoznayim im hamishkalot, to make sure that our scales and our weights are righteous. They're proper. Dalid, shelo ya'aseh avel b'midah u'b'mishkalot, not to distort weights and measures. Don't make them false. Hey, one is a positive and one is a negative. Aseh v'lo taseh. Yeah, many times we get the same thing. Do this, don't do that. Rest on Shabbos, don't work on Shabbos. That way, if you do it, you get 2 problems, 2 averot. Hey, shelo yiyeh adam even va'even efa ve'efa. A person shouldn't even have in his house 2 stones of different weights or 2 measurements of different weights. Afal pi she'eino lokech v'noten b'hem, even though he doesn't use them in his buying and selling. Just to have them is a problem. Vav, shelo yasig gvul, not to move the marker of a border between you and your friend's property. Zayin, shelo lignov nefashot, not to kidnap people. Hilchot gzela va'aveda, the laws of robbing and lost objects. Yesh bichlalan sheva mitzvot, have 7 mitzvahs. Shtei mitzvot aseh, v'chamesh mitzvot lot aseh, also 2 positive and 5 negative. V'zehu pratan, these are the details. Aleph, shelo ligzol, not to rob in broad daylight. Beis, shelo la'ashok, not to withhold payment. Gimel, shelo lachmod, not to covet in your heart, to desire other people's property. Dalid, shelo lihitavot, not to desire them. It's even further where you take action about it. Hey, lahashiv et hagzela, to return robbed objects. Vav, shaloi italem min ha'aveda, you cannot close your eyes from lost object, you must take it and take care of it. Zayin, lahashiv ha'aveda, to return all lost objects. Here again, you have the same thing, positive and negative. Don't look away, return it. Hilchot chovel umazik, the laws of a person who bruises a friend or damages his property. Mitzvah taseh achat, it also covers 1 mitzvah. V'hu din chovel b'chavero, that's the law of a person who bruises his friend. O mazik mamon chavero, or damages the property of his friend. Hilchot rotzeach u'shmirat nefesh, and the final set of laws in this book is the laws of the murderer and guarding your soul. Yesh bichlalan shva esrei mitzvot. 17 mitzvahs. Sheva mitzvot aseh, the eser mitzvot lot aseh, 7 positive and 10 negative. Zeo pratan, and these are their details. Aleph, shalol lirtzoach, not to murder. Bet, shalol likach kofer lenefesh rotzeach. Do not take a ransom from a person who killed. You have to kill him. He can't pay it off with money. Gimel lahaglot rotzeach bishgaga. If a person murders inadvertently, by mistake, he didn't realize, you put him into galut, into exile. He has to go to one of the arei miklat, their cities of refuge, and stay there till the Kohen Gadol dies. Dalid, shelo likach kofer lemuchayav galut. A person who's obligated to go to galut, he can't take ransom, he can't pay it off either. Send him there. Hey, shelo yumat harotzeach k'sheyirtzach. Just because a murderer murders, even if he does it clearly in front of everybody, you can't just kill him right away. Kodem amidah bedin, before you put him up to trial. Everybody deserves a fair trial. Vav, lahatzil hanirdaf benafsho shel rodef. If a person is being chased down, you see a man about to kill somebody or about to rape them, you can save the person being chased by killing the chaser. Zayin, shelo lachus al rodef. Not to have mercy on the chaser. Do whatever it takes. Chet, Shelo la'amod al dam. Do not stand by on someone else's blood. You see somebody dying, drowning in a river, you must go in to save them. Tet, lahafrish arei miklat ulahachin lahen haderech. Separate cities of refuge, designate them clearly, and also make the path to them easily accessible. They have to be very wide roads, so a person could run there and get there fast. Yud la'arof et ha'agla banachal. If a person is discovered to be dead and we don't know who killed him, we have to chop off the neck of a young calf in an area called Nachal Eitan as a kapara, as an atonement for this. Yud Aleph, Shalo Ye'aved Ota Karka V'lo Tizara. That area of land cannot be worked ever again, it cannot be planted. Yud Bet, Shalo Tasim Damim. Do not put blood in your house. That means don't put things that are dangerous that could hurt people. Yud Gimel La'asot Ma'akeh. You have to make a fence. If you have a flat roof and someone can fall off, you have to make a fence. Yud Daled, Shalo Yachshil Tamim Bedavar. You can't make somebody who is innocent or unsuspecting in something, you can't give them bad advice, so they trip up. Tetvav, Lifrok im Misha Nichshal Baderech. If somebody is collapsed on the road because his animal was too overloaded, you have to help him take off the load. And Tet Zayin lit onimo, you have to also help him reload the animal when he needs. Yud Zayin, Shaloya Nichenun Baderech Nivhal B'Masao. You can't leave him on the road worried about his load, v'yelechlo, and just walk away. Nimtzu'u kol mitzvot hanichot b'sefer zeh. Turns out all the mitzvahs included in this 11th book, 36 mitzvahs. Mehen, 16 mitzvot aseh, 20 mitzvot lo taseh. 16 positive and 20 negative. Sefer Kinyan, the 12th book of the Rambam, the book of acquisition, Hilchotav Chamesh v'zehu Siduran. 5 sections of laws in the following order. Hilchot Mechira, the laws of sale. Hilchot Zchiyah u'matana, the laws of acquiring something and a gift. Hilchot Shchenim, the laws of neighbors. Hilchot Shluchin b'shutafin, the laws of agents and partners. Hilchot Avadim, the laws of servants. Hilchot Mechira, the laws of sale. Yesh bichlalan chamesh mitzvot. There are 5 mitzvahs. Achat mitzvot taseh, the arba mitzvot lo taseh. 1 positive, 4 negative. V'zeu pratan, and these are the details. Aleph, din mikach u'mimkar, the laws of buying and selling. How to buy and sell according to the Torah. Yud bet, shelo yoneh b'mikach u'mimkar. No cheating in buying and selling. Cheating specifically means overcharging or underpaying. Gimel, shelo yoneh b'dvarim, not to taunt others with words. Dalid, shelo yoneh ger tzedek b'mamono, a special mitzvah, not to cheat a righteous convert with his money. And hey, shelo yoneh b'dvarim, not to taunt him either with words, a special avera for the ger. Hilchot zchiyah u'matana, the laws of acquiring and gifts. And over here also, we don't have specific mitzvahs attached to these halachas, rather they're just a topic in Jewish law. Inyan elu halachot, the concept, the topic of these laws is leida, to know. Din zochem min hefker, the law of somebody who acquires something from hefker. Hefker means ownerless. You're walking in the desert, you see something on the floor, you pick it up, you want it to become yours. There's a way to do it. He'achikne uvameyikne, how you acquire and with what you could acquire. V'din noten matano mekabel, as well as the laws of giving a gift and the receiving of the gift. Ve'ezu matana chozeret, ve'ezu eina chozeret. Which gift can be retracted, you can take it back, and which gift you cannot take back. Hilchot shchenim, the laws of neighbors, again, doesn't have any mitzvah specifically, rather, inyan elu ha'halachot, the topic of these laws is leida, to know, din chiluk ha'karkaot ben ha'shutafim, how to split up property between partners. If partners decide to split up, we're done being partners, there's a special way to divide their property. V'harchakat nizkei kol echad mehen mishcheno, and also how to distance damage of any person from your neighbor. If you have a barbecue constantly on in your backyard, it makes a lot of smoke, it could hurt somebody else. There's ways that govern how you have to distance your damages. Umi bal hametzer shalo, and also somebody, also from the next door neighbor on the next property. It seems like there was neighbors, close by, and then there was bal hametzer, somebody that lived nearby you. V'din bal hametzer, as well as the special law about the neighbor, which is that if a person is selling property, you have to sell to your neighbor first, so he could expand his field. Hilchot shluchin v'shutafin, the laws of agents and partners, again, no mitzvahs. Inyan elu halachot, the topic of these laws is leida, to know, din shlucho shel adam v'shutafo, the law of an agent of a person and his partner. If you send somebody to do something for you and he makes a bad deal, what happens now? Or if your partner is putting in all the money and you're giving all the resources, there's ways that halacha governs this relationship. Umishpetehen, and their laws, b'mikachan u'mimkaran, when they buy and sell, uvehefseidan u'scharan, and when they lose money and when they make profit. There's special ways to divide between them. Hilchot avadim, the laws of servants, yesh bichlalan, 13 mitzvot, 13 mitzvahs are covered. Chamesh mitzvot aseh, u'shmona mitzvot lo taseh, 5 positive and 8 negative. V'zeu pratan, and these are their details. Aleph, din kinyan eved ivri, the law of the acquisition of a Jewish slave. He has to stay for 6 years, and the whole process, etc. Bet shelo yimacher mimkeret eved. When you sell a Jewish slave, you don't sell him like a regular slave, announcing him publicly on the slave market. You have to treat him with dignity. Gimel shelo yardenu befarech. You cannot work a Jewish slave with back-breaking work. or with useless work. Dalid, Shalom Naniach Ger Toshav, Lirdod Bo Beferech. We cannot allow a resident Goy who lives in Israel to use a Jewish slave with backbreaking work. If a Goy, for whatever reason, ends up with a Jewish slave, we have to take care of him, make sure he doesn't get treated badly. Hey, Shalom Na'avod Bo Avodat Aved. We cannot work with a Jewish slave like we would work with a regular slave. You can't make him do tasks that are reserved for servants. Vav, Laha'anik Lo B'tzetoch Chofshi. If they give him gifts when he goes out free, Zayin, Shalo Yetzer Rekam, he should not go out empty-handed. Chet, Livdot Ama Ivriya, if you have a Jewish maid servant, you have to help her get redeemed, give her ways to buy herself back. Tet, Liya'ada, you have to marry her, ideally, or your son. Yud, Shalo Timacher, she should not be sold. Once you have a Jewish slave girl, you have to keep her, you can't sell her off. Yud Aleph, La'avod Be'evet Kna'ani Le'olam. If you have a non-Jewish slave, you work with him forever. He stays in your family, it's like possession that goes to your son if you die. Ella im hipilo adonav echad merashei evarav. With the exception if the master knocked out one of the edges of his limbs, any of the fingers or the toes, the nose. If the master damages it, then the slave automatically goes free. Yud bet shalola hasgir eved shabarach michutza la'aretz la'aretz Yisrael. If a slave ran away from outside Israel to Israel, you can't deliver him back to his master. Yud gimel shalola hanot eved zeh. This slave that comes to be saved, he finds asylum by us, we can't treat him badly.
So he's becoming a free man?
He becomes a free man.
Okay.
Nimtzu, it turns out, Kol HaMitzvot HaNichot B'Sefer Zeh, the mitzvahs included in this book, Shmona Esrei, 18 mitzvahs, Shesh Mehem Mitzvot Aseh, Ushtem Esrei Mitzvot Aseh, 6 positive and 12 negative. Sefer Mishpatim, the laws of the book of judgments, the 13th book of the Rambam, Hilchotav Chamesh, 5 sections of law in this book, V'zehu Siduran, in this order, Hilchot Schirut, the laws of renting and workers. Hilchot She'elah Pikadon, laws of borrowing and deposit. Hilchot Malveh V'loveh, the laws of lender and borrower. Hilchot To'en V'nit'an, the laws of a claimer and a claimant. Hilchot Nechalot, the laws of inheritance. Hilchot Schirut, the laws of renting and workers. Yesh Bichlalan Sheva Mitzvot, they cover 7 mitzvot. Shalosh Mitzvot Aseh, V'arba Mitzvot Lot Aseh. 3 positive, 4 negative. Aleph, Din, Sachir, V'shomer Sachar, the laws of a renter and a paid watchman. Bet, Liten Schar Sachir B'yomo, to pay your worker on the same day, on time. Gimel, shelo ya'acher schar sachir achar zmano, not to delay the payment for a worker after his time. Dalid, sheyochal hasachir min hamechubar sheyasebo, a worker can eat from any produce that's attached to the ground if he's working with it. Hey, shelo yochal hasachir min hamechubar shelo b'shad gmar malacha. He cannot eat from produce that's attached to the ground if it's not the final stages of work. If he's not cutting the produce, he can't eat it. Vav, shelo yolich hasachir biyado yeter al ma she'achal. A worker cannot take in his hand more than what he needs to eat. There's no taking to go. Zayin, shalo yachsom shor b'disho. You cannot muzzle an ox while it's working and threshing. You have to let it eat from the produce. And the same thing with other animals as well. Hilchot she'elah pikadon, the laws of deposit and borrowing. Yesh bichlalan shtei mitzvot aseh. It covers 2 positive mitzvahs, v'zehu pratan, and these other details. Aleph, din hashoel, the law of a borrower. Bet, din shomer chinam, the law of an unpaid watchman. Hilchot malveh v'loveh, the laws of lender and borrower. Yesh bichlalan 12 mitzvot, it covers 12 mitzvahs. Arba mitzvot aseh, u'shmona mitzvot lo taseh, 4 positive and 8 negative. V'zeu pratan, and these are the details. Aleph lahalvot la'ani v'mach, to lend money to a poor person or a person who's down on his luck. He needs money, give him. Bet, shelo yigosoto, don't demand him fiercely. Gimel, lingos atanochri, a guy you should nudge. Dalid, shelo yimashken bal chov bizra, you cannot forcefully take collateral from a person who owes you money. You have to stay outside his house and he brings it to you. Hey, lahachzira mashkon liva alav, you must return the collateral to its owners, bizman shu tzarich lo, if he needs it. Vav shelo ya'acher mashkon mi ba'alav ha'ani, you should not delay returning the collateral to its poor owner, be'et shu tzarich lo, time that he needs it. Zayin shelo yachavol almana, no taking collateral from a widow. Chet shelo yachavol kelim she'osin b'hem ochel nefesh, you cannot take as a collateral any utensil that's used in making food. Tet shelo yiten hamalveh beribit, a lender cannot lend with interest. Yud, shelo yilveh haloveh beribit, a borrower cannot borrow with interest. Yud aleph, shelo yitasek adam, ben malveh v'loveh beribit, a person cannot get involved between a lender and a borrower who are having a loan with ribit. V'lo ya'id benehem, he cannot be a witness between them. V'lo yichtov shtar, nor write a document. V'lo ya'arov, or be a guarantor. Yud bet, lilvot min hanachri, ulahalvoto beribit, you should borrow and lend goyim with interest. Hilchot to'en v'nit'an, the laws of claimer and claimant. Mitzvat aseh achat, it's one mitzvah. V'hi din to'en, it's the law of somebody who makes a claim about money, umodeh o kofer, and the response of a person who either admits or denies. How bet din has to govern their court cases. Hilchot nachalot, laws of inheritance. Mitzvat aseh achat, one mitzvah, positive mitzvah. V'hi din seder nachalot, that's the law that governs the order of inheritance. Person dies, if he has a son, it goes to him. No sons, it goes to the daughters. No kids, it goes to the brothers, etc. Nimtzu kol mitzvot hanichot b'sefer zeh. All mitzvahs included in this book, Shalosh ve'esrim, 23 mitzvahs. Mehen, achat esrei mitzvot aseh, u'shtayim esrei mitzvot aseh, 11 positive and 12 negative. Sefer Shoftim, the final and 14th book of the Rambam. Hilchotav chamesh, 5 sections of law. V'zehu siduran, in this order. Hilchot Sanhedrin v'ha'onashin ha'mesurin lahem. The laws of the Sanhedrin, the high court, and the punishments given over to them. Hilchot edut, the laws of testimony. Hilchot mamrim, the laws of those who rebel. Hilchot evel, the laws of mourning. And hilchot melachim u'milchamotehem, the laws of kings and their wars. Hilchot Sanhedrin v'ha'onashin ha'mesurin lahem, the laws of the high court and their punishments that they are handed over to administer. Yesh bichlalan 30 mitzvot. There are 30 mitzvahs discussed in these laws. Eser mitzvot aseh ve'esrim mitzvot lo taseh. 10 positive and 20 negative. V'zehu pratan, and these are their details. Aleph lemanot shoftim, to appoint judges. Bet shelo lemanot dayan, not to appoint a judge she'eno yodea derech hamishpat, who doesn't know Torah law of judgment. He could be very smart in other things, but Torah law he doesn't know, you can't appoint him. Gimel lintot acharei rabim im nechleku hashoftim. If the judges are having an argument, you go after the majority. Daled, one exception. Shelo laharog. We don't murder im rabu hamechayvim beish echad. If the majority of saying guilty is only a majority of one. Ad sheyu ater shnayim. It has to be a majority of 2 in order to kill somebody. Hey, shelo yelamed chova mishalimed zchut b'dinei nefashot. Somebody who said innocent in a capital case, he cannot go back and say guilty. Vav laharog biskila. Sometimes the court has to kill with stoning. Zayin laharog bisreifa. Sometimes the court has to kill with burning. Chet laharog b'sayif. The court has to kill with beheading, a sword. Tet laharog b'chenek, to kill with strangulation, with choking. Yud litlot. The bedin had to hang some people. Yud aleph likbar ne'erag b'yom harigato. And a person who is killed by bedin, he has to be buried on the day he was killed. Yud bet. Shlot halin nivlato. Don't leave his carcass hanging overnight. Yud gimel shalol lahachet mechashef. Not to let a sorcerer live. Yudad lahakot larasha, to give a whipping, malkut, to somebody who deserves it, a wicked man. Tetvav shelo yosif b'hakayat halokeh, never to give more than what the amount is supposed to be when you hit somebody who's supposed to get hit. Tet zayin shelo laharog naki b'umdan hadat, we don't kill innocent people by circumstantial evidence. Yud zayin shelo la'anosh anus, we never punish a person who was forced into an avera. Yud chet shelo lachus al horeg chavero o chovel bo, if somebody killed a friend or bruised him, we do not have mercy on them. Yutet, shelo lerachem al hadal badin, we don't have mercy on a poor person in court. Give him the verdict, whatever it is. Chaf, shelo lahader gadol badin. On the other hand, we don't honor great people in court. Everyone's equal. Chaf aleph, shelo lahatot hadin al bal averot. Don't turn a case against a person who has averot. Afal pishu choteh, even though he's a sinner, give him a fair trial. Chaf bet, shelo la'avel mishpat, not to distort the law in any case. Chaf gimel, shelo lahatot mishpat ger yatom, do not turn the court case of a convert or a orphan. Chav dalid lishpot b'tzedek, to judge with honesty, with righteousness. Chav hey, shalol yir'a badin me'ish zroa, not to be afraid in court from a strong person. Just because he's part of the mafia doesn't mean you can bend to him. Chavav, shalol likach shochad, no taking bribes. Chav zayin, shalol lisa shem ashav, not to hear a false hearing. That means not to listen to a court case if only one person is there. Both people have to be there to argue their case fairly. Chav hey, shalol lekalel adayan, no cursing a judge. Chavtet, shelo lekalel nasi, no cursing a nasi, the head of the yeshiva. Lamed, shelo lekalel adam mishar b'nei Yisrael ksherim, not to curse any Jew from the rest of the people that are kosher. Hilchot edut, the laws of testimony. Yesh bichlalan shmona mitzvot. It covers 8 mitzvot. Shalosh mitzvot aseh, the chamesh mitzvot lo taseh, 3 positive, 5 negative. V'zeo pratan. These are their details. Aleph, laha'id bevedin lemish yesh lo edut. If you know somebody testimony, you have to go to court and testify. Bet lidrosh v'lachkor ha'idim. The Beit Din has to investigate and inquire from these witnesses, make sure they're saying the truth. Gimel shelo yoreh ha'ed b'din zeh shehe'id alav. The witness cannot become a judge in this case that he's testifying about b'dinei nefashot, if it's a capital case. Dalid shelo yakum davar be'edut echad. Nothing gets established on the basis of the testimony of only one witness. There has to be 2. Hey, shelo ya'id bal avera. A person who done averot cannot be a witness. Vav shelo ya'id karov. Relative cannot give testimony. Zayin shelo leha'id b'sheker, you cannot give false testimony. Chet la'asot le'ed zomem kasher zamam la'asot. If a false witness came, you do to him what he wanted to do. But it's only if he is discovered to be false about the time that he was giving testimony about, not the information. Someone comes to court and says, Reuven killed Shimon on Monday, and then 2 more people come and say, we don't know what happened, but you were with us on Monday, so you couldn't have seen it. That's an Eid Zomem. But if someone comes to court and says, hey, he owes him $1,000, and I say, no, he doesn't, that's not an Eid Zomem. He doesn't get punished. Only if it's about the time that he was with. It's called Imanu Hayitem, you were with us. then you get punished. Hilchot mamrim, the laws of rebellion. Yesh bichlalan tesha mitzvot. We have 9 mitzvahs here. Shalosh mitzvot taseh, v'shesh mitzvot lo taseh. 3 positive and 6 negative. V'zeo pratan, and these are their details. Aleph la'asot al piyat Torah sheyamru b'din hagadol. We have to follow the Torah that Bet Din, the High Court, gives us. Whatever they say, we follow. Bet shalol asur min divreihem. We cannot turn away from their words. Gimel shalol hosif ala Torah. We cannot add to the Torah. Lo ba mitzvot shebiktav, v'lo b'perushan shalamadu mipi hashmua. Not the written mitzvahs or the explanation that we receive from tradition. You can never add and say, Hashem also said this. Dalid, same thing, shaligram min hakol. We cannot subtract from anything. Whatever Hashem said, that's the final word. You want to add new decrees like we did the other day? That's fine. Don't attribute it to Hashem though. Hey, shalol lekalel ava'im, we cannot curse a father and mother. Vav shalol lehakot ava'im, we cannot bruise a father and mother, hit them. Zayin lechabed ava'im, we must honor our father and mother. Chet liyir'am ava'im, we must be in awe from our father and mother. Treat them with fear and trepidation and respect. Tet, shelo yiyeh haben soreru moreh al kol aviv v'imo. A son cannot be rebellious and straying from the voice of his father and mother, and if he does, there's a whole process where sometimes his boy actually gets killed. Hilchot Evel, laws of mourning. Yesh bichlalan arba mitzvot. There are 4 mitzvahs here. Echat mitzvah taseh, b'shalosh mitzvot lo taseh, 1 positive, 3 negative, v'zeo pratan, and these are the details. Aleph litabel al akrovim. We have to mourn over relatives. V'afilu kohen mittamei o mitabel al akrovim. Even a kohen gets impure and must mourn over his relatives. Says the Rambam, ve'en adam mitabel al harogei beit din. You're not allowed to mourn over people killed by the court. And therefore, kalalti alachot elu b'sefer zeh. Therefore, I put these laws in this book. Because they resemble the mitzvah of burying on the day that you die. Shehi mitzvah taseh, which is a positive mitzvah, and therefore it's kind of connected, so we put in the laws of mourning as well. Bet shalo yitameh kohen gadol likrovim. A kohen gadol cannot become impure to his relatives. Gimel shalo yikanes imamet ba'oil. A kohen gadol cannot go into the same room as a dead body. Dalet shalo yitameh kohen hadyot lenefesh adam. A kohen hadyot, a regular kohen, cannot become impure to any human body. Ela likrovim bilvad, only his close relatives. Hilchot melachim u'melchamotehem. The laws of kings and their wars. This is the final section of laws in the Rambam. Yesh bichlalan shalosh ve'esrim mitzvot. That covers 23 mitzvahs. Eser mitzvot taseh, u'shlosh eser mitzvot taseh. 10 positive and 13 negative. V'zeo pratan, and these are their details. Aleph lemanot melech miYisrael. We must appoint a king from Israel. Bet shalo yimanem b'kehal gerim. We cannot appoint a king from converts' descendants. It has to be a full-on Jew. Gimel shalo yarbalo nashim. A king cannot have too many wives. Daled shalo yarbalo susim. You can't have too many horses. Hey, shalo yabalo kesef v'zahav. You can't have too much gold and silver. Vav lahachrim shiva mamim. We must totally destroy the 7 nations that live in Israel. Zayin shalo lahachyot mehen neshama. Not to leave anybody alive from them. Chet limchot zar'o shel Amalek. To erase the children of Amalek. Tet lizkor ma'aseh asal Amalek. To remember what Amalek did to us in the desert. Yud shalo lishkoach ma'asav hara'im. Not to forget his evil deeds, va'arivato b'derech, and his ambush on the road. Yud aleph shalo lishkon be'eretz Mitzrayim. We cannot live in Egypt. Yud bet lishloach shalom liyoshvei ha'ir kishatzayim aleh. Whenever you lay siege to a city, you must first send them peace. V'ladun ba ka'asher b'farash b'Torah, and then to follow the rules as the Torah says, im tashlim v'im lo tashlim, if it makes peace or not. But the first offer is always an offer of peace. Yud Gimel shalol lidrosh shalom mi'amon u'mo'av bilvad. There's one exception. Ammon and Moab, those 2 nations, we don't inquire their peace. Kishatzayim aleh, when we lay siege to them, we just go straight for it and wage the war. Yud daled shalol lahashchit elanim ma'achal b'matzor. When we make a siege, we cannot destroy fruit trees. Tetvav, lahatkim yad, sheyitzu bo ba'alei ha'machaneh lipanot bo. You have to prepare, a yad means an area, where people that are camped for the army base can go there and use the bathroom. Tet zayin, lahatkim yated. You have to prepare a shovel, together with the weapons, lachporbo, to dig and use the bathroom. Yud zayin, limshoach kohen. We must appoint a special kohen, anoint him. L'daber be'oznei anshei hatzava, b'shat ha'milchama, to speak in the ears of the army men, the soldiers, during wartime. He encourages them. Yudchet liyot me'ares nasei isha uboneh binyan v'notea kerem. If a person just recently engaged a wife, and he just married her, or he just built a building, or he just planted a vineyard, smechin b'kinyanan shana tmima. They have to be happy with their acquisition for a full year. Umachzir otam ila milchama. We must return them from war. They don't get to fight. If you already got married, already built, already planted the vineyard. Yutet shelo ya'avor alihen davar. We don't put any responsibility on them. They don't even go out for city needs, or the troop needs, or anything similar to them. They're free. Not to tremble, and to retreat backwards, during war. The law of the beautiful captive woman. A goyish woman is discovered in war, you can take her, you can convert her, and then marry her. However, chavet shelo timacher yifator, you cannot sell this beautiful woman, and also chav gimel shelo yichbeshana le'avdut achar shenivala, once you have relations with her, you can't hold her as a slave. Nimtzeu, it turns out, kol ha-mitzvot hanechlot b'sefer zeh, all the mitzvahs in this book, arba v'shivim, are 74, mehen, sheva v'esrim mitzvot aseh, there are 27 positive mitzvahs, v'sheva v'arba'im mitzvot lot aseh, and 47 negative mitzvahs. V'nimtzeu, says the Rambam, kol ha-halachot shel arba'a asar sefer, all the sections of laws of all the 14 books, shalosh u'shmonim halachot are 83. Fascinating. The Talmud says, machala, the word for sickness, has the gematria of 83. And if you eat properly, it saves you from all sickness. Says the Rebbe, for a neshama, for a Jewish soul, what's their food? Torah. If you learn the whole Torah, 83 halachot, you're saved from machala, all the 83 types of sickness. V'ata, says the Rambam, and now, atchil leva'er, I'm going to begin to explain mishpatei kol mitzvah, the laws of every single mitzvah, v'chol hadimin hanigalim ima me'inyana, and all the laws that roll along with it from each topic, al seder halachot, in the order of laws, be'ezrat shakai baruch hu, with the help of God, blessed be He. And tomorrow, be'ezrat Hashem, we actually begin the Rambam with the first chapter of the first book.